VenomousStare, the Richie April of StarCraft 2, back with another exciting cast. This time we have a custom 1v1 warm-up game I played with my 2v2 partner and cousin Spencer. This is him in the top right of the classic macro map, Daybreak. If ever you have beef with a 2v2 partner or an opponent and you want to pick a rematch, Daybreak is the go-to map. Daybreak is the map that is universally considered to be balanced. It's incredibly standard. It's total bread and butter, completely balanced for every race. So frequently, if ever I'm playing a for fun game and I just want it to be sort of a straight up game and nothing crazy like a lost temple or a scrap station, this is the map that you go to. And Spencer here's opening for Gateway on the low ground, pretty standard stuff. And I'm opening for Speedling Expand because Spencer is incredibly cheesy and loves a cannon rush. This is also just sort of a safe, nice little standard build to mix into your play. You don't want to be going hatchery first 100% of the time. Even as Zerg, and even as a macro Zerg, you want to vary your play up. So there are a few different things I want to talk about today. First and foremost, I need to address something that is a little bit somber. The drummer of my favorite band ever, and the best drummer in the entire world, Rush, Neil Peart. It's sort of weird because I set up both the band name and the proper noun of Neil himself in the setup sentence. But Rush's drummer, Neil Peart, has died, and he has died due to brain cancer. This sort of explains why Rush was winding down their touring so aggressively. Thankfully, I was able to go to the final tour, good old R40. I went with my girlfriend at the time at American Airlines Center. It was a lot of fun. The band was one of the most crisp, clean live performances I've ever seen, despite them all being very old. It was very enjoyable. And if you look at the technical brilliance of Neil Peart, he is a guy who is universally regarded as top tier, and a lot of different people have listed as a influence, someone who really had a positive impact on them growing up. A lot of different musicians. So it's a damn shame to see that he is gone, and Rush, of course, is not going to replace someone of that caliber. They're not going to do a fill-in and keep touring. If you haven't seen Rush, you pretty much missed it. That is all the touring they're going to do. Elusive Smoke is going to take double gas, and his Stargate's about to finish. Savagewood's third just now started. He's starting to drone his natural as well as get Overlord speed to scout Elusive Smoke because he does not want to be caught off guard by the incredibly aggressive and creative Elusive Smoke, a player who's not afraid to do various abusive builds. And if we look at Savagewood's vision, he doesn't see the Stargate. First Phoenix out, let's see what Elusive Smoke does, is he's trying to take the middle third. This was one of the best things about Daybreak, is you could actually take this third in the middle just as easily as you could take this third down here. It's really cool whenever maps have two different thirds you can take. And Elusive Smoke will find this Overlord, but you should always look on these pedestals because that's where Zerg likes to hide Overlords in general. But Elusive does find one, and since Savagewood has already gotten Overlord speed, it's not going to be game ending. That's part of why getting Overlord speed is so good versus Protoss, as you see spores going down here. Because if they open Phoenix, then you don't just lose an incredible amount. You don't spend half the game with your thumb up your ass trying to replenish your Overlords. Savagewood's going to dart around the base with some shift move commands and scout Elusive Smoke. Another positive of taking this base is even though this tower can see it, all you have to do is control the one tower and they're going to be significantly less likely to scout it, whereas most players will have something watching over the standard third. Also, this one is just about as easy to defend. It's sort of just as close to this natural ramp, but it's a little more wide open. It looks way wide open, but if they swing down from here, you can see it with the tower. This is rocked. This right here, they have to swing down the ramp, and a lot of times you think, well, you know, you want to tight as choke as possible if you're Protoss, but Actually, a lot of the times when it's situations like this, being able to move your army freely is a little more easy. So, like I said, this third is just about as good as this third over here, and my middle mouse button is still screwed up, so my observing isn't as smooth as usual. Two more, or a gate and another star coming for elusive smoke. So if you're going mass air, one of the things you want to do is, even though it's very tempting to just make a bunch of stargates and not get any ground units at all, at some point you're going to want to tech 2 High Templar with Storm and Speed Zealots. Stasis Ward harassment being attempted here in elusive smoke. Picks up a little bit here, a drone and a queen. The queen is nice because then you can subsequently run in and try to harass more. But Savagewood intelligently has pulled most of his overlords back. If we click on the U tab, basically he has every overlord in his base except the one over the third, which elusive smoke is sort of circumvented by taking this third out here. Double void right here for elusive smoke. It'll be interesting to see if he can tech up to Fleet Beacon and get the new Void Ray Flux Fane upgrade. A lot of times what you see is Protoss players will try to go for air styles, and they're sort of vulnerable in the mid game before they get this unbeatable Finger of God type air army, Mothership, Psy Storm, Carrier, Void Ray, High Templar, Speed Zealot, the whole shebang. A lot of times you can catch them before they get all the bells and whistles and they just have some air units. As the Forge is going to come up here for elusive smoke, who is up to 4 voids at this point. And notice he's taking this tower. This is very intelligent. If you're going to take this third, you have to have this tower. So Savagewood is going to see the third base for the first time, and elusive smoke is actually ranging down there to take his fourth. So the other news that I want to mention that's not rush related is the WCS, which is the sort of official professional gamer circuit of StarCraft, has been cancelled and it's being replaced by an ESL and DreamHack hybrid. Now don't get worried, because StarCraft 2 is still going to thrive, it's still going to go on, but the traditional WCS system is no more. DreamHack and ESL have taken it over, as we see a fourth here from Savagewood. They've already announced 6 events, and basically not a lot is going to change in terms of, well, you're still going to see StarCraft 2, and there is still going to be a significant circuit to follow. And one of the things I'm most happy about is StarCraft 2 is coming back to Dallas, which is where I'm from and where I live at the moment, as elusive smoke is going to try to dart in here as a few more spores are going down. And when your opponent goes for a lot of void rays and your main base has a ton of air space to be attacked from, you want to go ahead and be pretty liberal with the spores, because the chance that the Protoss is going to swing back in and try to attack the main is pretty high, and things can get very hairy very quickly, and you can lose a lot of tech in your main if you don't have a significant amount of sporage to at least stop the bleeding. Savagewood has done a pretty good job playing defensive. He's spreading creep, getting spores, getting a couple macro hatches, pumping mass Hydra. He's getting roach speed and Hydra speed, 1/1 carapace and attack upgrade. He's getting an infestation pit, which means he's going to get hive pretty soon. And unfortunately, he gets a few drone stasis there, as in general you want to have a spore on the corner to sort of inhibit that. But whenever voids come over and harass you, it can be difficult. Creep spread starting to fork out into the middle of the map. Elusive smoke does have this base down here, but if we look at the tech of elusive smoke, he does not have a twilight yet, which means he's relying heavily on mass air, and Savagewood will scout these void rays on the north side of the map. And Savagewood has a couple spores over here as well as a couple hydras, but the hydras are going to get melted. And really, with the void rays having prismatic alignment, a lot of times whenever you make the spores are just to hold them off for a couple of seconds while you bring your army over. You can make an insane amount of spores and the voids can still rip through them. That's one mistake that a lot of new players make, is they think that making an insane amount of static defense is the way to go. The static defense in many ways is just something to delay the main army. So Savage Wood is going to swing down here and try to bust the 4th. He has 1-1. He's teching into Hive. He's a little bit supply blocked. He's making 4 Overlords, and he's making some Hydra here. So this is a little bit tricky. If we look at Elusive Smoke's base, he has a few cannons and a few batteries up, and he has 1-1-1. But notice that he doesn't have any High Templar, he doesn't have any Charge Lots, he doesn't have any Archons. It's just straight Void Ray. And they don't have Flux Veins either, so his ability to micro is going to be pretty limited. He's working on getting his 6th and 8th gas up, or 7th and 8th gas rather. Notice Savage Wood is continuing to spread creep here. This is very important, especially whenever you go Hydras. Having creep right up to your opponent's front door is paramount. 8 lurkers are being made, and these lurkers are going to be a nice tool to be able to try to do some damage to some of the static defense for the Protoss, and really sort of force the Protoss' hand. So Savage Wood is going to run on this tower, and he's going to burrow the lurkers and start to try to do some damage to Elusive Smoke. And Elusive Smoke is going to retreat a bit with the Void, say, okay, he has a lot of Hydras, it's going to be very hard for me to engage, and even with static defense, like batteries and cannons, this is why you need a ground army. This is why you can't just go pure Void, and much more than a ground army, this is why High Templar is so good, because 4 to 5 to 6 storms here pretty much holds this attack with ease. So we can see the shield batteries here are largely out of energy, as Hydras do very well against Void Rays. The lurkers are going to be moved forward. Thankfully for Elusive Smoke, they have been tagged, and Savage Wood is going to step up here and burst down the voids. Hydras do so much DPS that once you have a lot of them with decent upgrades, you can focus fire and burst down past the shield battery regeneration. And it looks like Elusive Smoke is going to be busted here. As if Savage Wood had waited a couple more minutes, perhaps Elusive Smoke would have had an unkillable army, but really you have to have a few High Templar and Speed Zealots to complement this sort of comp. Also, I don't think he got Flux Veins. He didn't. So even though he got 1-1-1 and was working on 2-2, he's going to take the loss. So rest in peace, Peart. And StarCraft 2 lives on and is coming back to Dallas. Have a good one.